Welcome to Caffeine and Creators with your host James Vermont with special guest Crowne Prince. On this month's episode, Mr. Vermont and Mrs. Prince tackle aspects of content creation from an animator's aspect in a more ideal and contemporary way. Sit down, kick back, and pop open a fresh bottle of Lime Cola, our sponsored drink of the evening.
Welcome to Caffeine and Creators, where I interview people more famous than myself and hope they think I know what I'm talking about. My guest today is Crowne Prince, self-proclaimed rogue animator. Hi.
Hello.
Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems that I've noticed one or two similarities between Caffeine and Creators and Scribble Kibble. I promise I'm not a thief.
Oh, no. Oh my gosh. It's not even like a patented formula or something. I mean, the show Scribble Kibble itself is, I guess, based off of a lot of stuff I saw in the pony community anyway.
Oh, okay, cool. So either neither of us are thieves or both of us are.
Oh, always a thief. I mean, the best comedy is the comedy that's stolen, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. What's the saying? If you steal from one source, it's forgery. If you steal from multiple, it's just creativity and research.
There we go. I haven't heard that before. Yes.
All right, cool. Now, speaking of Scribble Kibble, let's just talk. What's the purpose behind it? I'm assuming it involves education and teaching, unlike this rip-off show, which I created as an excuse to have Weim pay me more money.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, my show's all about getting more money too, so I guess we're in this together. But okay, so Scribble Kibble. Yes, it's about education, but really the reason I started it is because of YouTube's nonsense, I guess. So I make animations, but because of the way YouTube's calculations work, those tend to not get very many views, and what does get views is a consistent output. So Scribble Kibble was a way that I thought, okay, I need to be making a video consistently. I mean, once a week would be awesome, but there's definitely... I mean, if I want to just post animations, it's only going to be once a month. So Scribble Kibble is my answer to that problem, and it's a very simple formula. After I did all the stuff and made all the art and figured out how the process for making each episode, I can make one about every 10... It takes about 10 hours to make a regular episode. Some episodes are really crazy and they take me 20 to 40 hours, but most of them, it's a pretty set formula, so I know that I'll be able to post a video every single week.
I'd noticed a similar thing on my own channel, so I'm glad I can have you be here to confirm then about regular content. How much does regular content help you in comparison to your larger, more separate projects?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was absolutely necessary because I guess I've been running my business for maybe 2-3 years now. I didn't mean to quit my real job so early, but a bunch of stuff in my life changed. Like, a lot of huge changes over the past 2 years, and it's just... So I was looking at my business and how much money I was making, and I'm like, well, I gotta change something because this is not enough money to live on. So I need to... I looked at the different sectors of where I was making money, and I've got YouTube ad revenue, I've got commissions, and I've got fan support. So of those three things, YouTube ad revenue was really, really, really low. So I thought, okay, what can I do to make that number go up? Because that's going to be the easiest thing to change. And so if I post content regularly, that doesn't take a lot of effort. I mean, a lot of effort is 10 hours or less. That's not very much effort. Because an animation itself usually would take 40 to 100 hours. So, yeah, so I started doing Scribble Kibble and immediately started getting better ad revenue results. Now, of course, it's YouTube, so it's not amazing, but it's much more than it was. I mean, I was making like $50 a month or $25 a month or something. Oh, no, I think it was even less than that. It was like $10 a month or something really, really low. So I said, okay, I want to get that up to $100 a month at least. So I think I'm about there right now. I haven't looked at the stats in a little while, but now that I've built up this large library of videos, even though those videos were finished a long time ago, they'll bring in like $1 or $2 a month, and that adds up when you've got, I guess I have about 300 videos now, but not all of them are making money. Maybe half of them are. So that adds up.
While I'm busy, stealing all of your monetary secrets, I would like... I see that you do have a Patreon, and so what I want to just talk about that is when you set it up, what... did you look at any specific channels who had their own Patreons? Trying to figure out the reward tier and so on was a pain in my ass, and it's been a pain in Weim's, and I'd like to just know how you sort of structured your reward tier.
Oh, you want more of my secrets, do you?
Give me all of them.
All right. Well, so the Patreon thing, I started doing Patreon when it was new. I had seen a couple of creators doing it, and it was really popular, so that's one of the reasons I never posted a video that just said, hey, I'm on Patreon, come support me, because everybody else is doing it, and I hate doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, just no. So I started the Patreon, and I did look at some other channels, but I can't remember specifically. Before I do a new thing, I always do research into it. So starting out, the reward tiers have changed a little bit, but not too much. I really need to redo the whole thing at some point, and I just haven't gotten around to it. The banner on my Patreon page is this old, ugly-looking piece, just amalgamation of the different things I'm doing. So the reward tiers, it was pretty simple. It was you could get a piece of art, you could get a small looping animation, and I think the $1 tier was you'll get access to previews of early stuff, or here's how some process videos and things like that. So even at $1, you'd be getting something special that regular people aren't getting. And I think I had one other tier that was much higher, maybe $50 a month or something like that. And I can't remember what the reward for that was originally. But one thing I did not do, and this is a thing that a lot of other people do, is offer a reward where people could pay money to get their names in the credits. I think the cat is trying to break in. I'm going to have to do something about him. No, okay, don't know what that noise was. Anyway, okay, so I had those tiers, and I decided not to do the thing where you list a bunch of people's names in the credits, because I just think, it's a really easy reward to give, but what happens is when you become really successful, you have, 200, 300 people, and you have to put all their names in, and it just really detracts from anyone feeling special. In my opinion, obviously, that's not the case because a lot of people seem to really like that, but I'm still just, no, not going to do that. So instead, what I have is right now I made a new tier that's really high. I think it's $100 a month, and it's a sponsorship. So anyone who has that tier, there's only one person who can have it at a time. And then at the end of each Scribble Kibble episode, it says sponsored by X person, X company, and then their logo. So that's that tier.
Actually, I quite like that $100 tier one. Maybe I'll experiment with that myself. All right. Away from the monetary secrets and more onto your sense of humor, I want to just trace it back to the beginning on, what leads a person to sit in a hotel room with a paper bag over her head with excited doggo faces on it.
Oh my gosh. While pictures of spaghetti play in the background. Oh my gosh. Well, my friends wanted me to show my face on camera, but I'm just like, no, my face, I don't have a face for camera. If anybody sees it, they're going to be disappointed, because apparently my voice is quite nice, but my face is like a face for radio. Anyway, so I thought, well, it's going to be a big mess if I have to just edit myself out of all of these videos and put in the character. It's going to be, and these are just going to be easy things that I can edit in a day and put up. So we happened to just have a paper bag, and I thought, oh man, I'll just draw the wolf face on that. It'll be great. But if you want to get into my actual sense of humor, that's obviously a lifelong story that has a lot to do with the different media influences. And I didn't realize that until recently. It's just, you go back and you watch things, or you play games that you played when you were a kid, and you go, oh, that's why I have that kind of sense of humor.
I will not ask you for your entire life story. We'll save that for 30 years from now when you're writing your autobiography.
Yeah, sometimes I do think about writing an autobiography, but I definitely need a lot more of experience. Just weird life experiences. You need to build them up so you have a fun story to tell.
You need like 30 years at least to come up with a cool title.
Yeah, well, right now the popular thing to do is have one-word titles, so I wonder what kind of titles. Maybe we'll have really, really long titles will be popular in the future.
go with the one-word title, but find a way to include, like, I don't know, music that plays every time you stare at the book's cover, so that it's all dramatic. Alright, now let's go on to Mirage. And I specifically want to talk about it with regards to the importance of pacing. I've seen a couple of animators who take on a project and the visuals are gorgeous, they're spot on, but the pacing might be off. You know, pauses being held too long, bad editing and so on. But I don't really see that sort of thing in your work. So just, can you walk us through pacing and how you work with that?
Okay, so my strong point is not really my artwork. I didn't go to art school, and I don't enjoy spending, I guess from time to time I do, but I don't, as an animator, I put a lot of time into doing a lot of drawings instead of a few really amazing drawings. So the strong point of my work is not really my artwork per se, it's more pacing and storytelling and framing. So where you're going to put what thing in the frame and that sort of thing. And I've always had a knack for that. So some people are, let's say, talented. There's a difference between talent and skill. Some people are talented and they can make really great artwork, but they may not know how to put a story together, how to put different timelines together so you have a cohesive thing. And then some people, which would be my case, I don't have a talent for artwork. Any ability I have is skill, so it's just a lot of practice over a long period of time. No, my talent lies in pacing. So that may be aided by the fact that I focused on music in high school, and then after that, my bachelor's degree is a liberal arts degree in international relations and law, and that degree requires you to be able to write really well, just to make an argument and things like that. So that's kind of where the pacing comes from, but I don't know.
I did actually take your a challenge you made a while back of trying to listen to Love is an Open Door. 8 days without sleeping? I've seen the passing of the ages.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
It was horrible. But not the worst Disney music challenge I've seen. There is one where they've gotten stuck all the Disney songs and one after the other and said, "You're not allowed to sing. Try not to sing along."
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's tough because some of those songs I've heard many, many, many times.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really hard not to sing along with them. But yeah, so I tried to get into your mindset before this interview of to listen to that song to understand, what was going through your head at the time, and it wasn't pleasant.
Well, that was a tough project. I didn't charge enough money for it, but that project was coming, I think, at the end of the time where I had two jobs, where I had my main job and then I was doing this on the side, so I wasn't really charging people at all what I should have been, because it was just a hobby at the time, and I was still building kind of a portfolio and all that. So that project was just a nightmare. It took forever, and ugh.
I think I come to the end of almost every project I work on, and the first thing I think is, I did not charge enough money for this.
I've started to get better at that. So I just, over a long period of time, I have a timer on my web browser and I just hit start, so I know how long I spend on something. So I've gotten much better at estimating how much money I should be charging. And the other thing is, I don't really like to charge people, so it's also hard to say, no, you can't, don't quit undercutting yourself. Quit undercutting yourself. My gosh. It's like, if a studio saw how much I charged to make an animation rig, they'd fire everybody and just hire me to do everything because it's so freaking cheap. But, so I gotta stop doing that. It's just really hard because a lot of my customers are just individual people, right? They're not businesses. They're not studios. So I'm not gonna price gouge them for a bunch of money. But you just have to realize, okay, sometimes you're going to tell people, no, it's $100 for this, or it's $600 for this, or that'll be $2,000. And you just have to watch them say, oh, okay, that's way more money than I could ever afford. So no, thank you.
Great. Now that I know that you're that you're comparatively cheap, I can ask you to help me cheat on my 2D animation final.
Oh yeah, sure. Just don't tell me it's your final. Be like, oh yeah, I need an animation of this or that, and show these elements, and yeah, that'll be. That's all I need. It's not for getting a grade or anything.
Exactly. Though there will be a large shout of surprise when they see that my artwork has gone from laughable stick figures to, something actually competent. My skills lie in stop motion, not 2D, unfortunately, but...
Oh, well, do you build your own stop motion models, or do you use, I guess, existing pieces of things that are lying around?
Existing pieces and things that are lying around, mostly.
Awesome. That's what I did for that one. I did a Scribble Kibble episode about stop motion with Pika Petey, and he, of course, he's another animator, being who he is, he has to... Yeah, he had to outshow me and, actually animate a bunch of stuff. But I just used some figurines I had lying around with my really bad quality web camera. It worked, but there was cat hair on everything. Just in the background, and I tried to kind of edit out the cat hairs that were floating around. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly that. Stop motions can be a pain in the ass at some points, though. When I had to shoot for my stop motion final, we had to shoot in a room with three other crews all shooting, and people kept bumping into my camera.
Oh my! No! Once you do that, you have to start the whole shot over. If you mess the camera up, you have to do the entire thing over. I mean, I don't know what software you're using, but in my case, there was no way to know how it looked until I had the whole sequence of pictures. And that made it really fun because you just had to do it. You couldn't really mess around.
Oh, for people who have an Apple, it's really great because there's free software called iStopMotion, which you can see everything that's happening, and it even lets you onion skin your pictures.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that would make a big difference because then you would probably be able to get your camera back on track. But I remember, when I was making that episode, what had happened? I was really sick for some reason. Jeez, I can't remember, but I basically... Oh, yes! I had gotten surgery on my shoulder, and I had all these stitches, and so I was trying to do my work, and I wasn't paying attention, and I just scratched the brand new stitches, and it just bled everywhere, so I kind of freaked out, and I just laid on the floor, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I broke my stitches open, I'm bleeding everywhere, so I had to crawl upstairs and be like, help me, because I was the only one at home. And so, yeah, that happened in the middle of my shoot, so I had to come back downstairs and there were just props all over the floor, and I had to figure out what I had been doing.
That might be one of the worst things I've heard to happen in the middle of a shoot, and I've seen some really weird shit happen in the middle of a shoot.
Yeah, this was, and I think, and my t-shirt was just completely, because what happened was I thought, oh shoot, I shouldn't have scratched that, and then you look over and just the whole t-shirt was covered in blood. I hadn't broke the stitches, but I was really thinking, oh my gosh, I live in Canada, I'm gonna have to go back to the hospital and sit for a few hours to get seen and get my stitches fixed, and I was just like, no! But I didn't have to do that in the end. That's the joys of free healthcare is, yeah, it's free, but you have to sit in the line for quite a while.
Are we taking a moment to laugh at the Americans after that statement?
Sure. I mean, the amount of money I would save makes up for sitting and waiting. They triage you, so if you have something really serious, they see you right away, but,
All right, so, could you help me define the kind of animation that seems to be very popular in the Brony community, specifically with the analysts, just cutting between specific poses and facial expressions without really animating anything between? I don't know what to call that.
Yeah. Okay, so what you're describing is the same thing I do on Scribble Kibble. I have a couple little animation cycles, like blinking and tail wagging, but most of them are just still poses. So there's not actually a term for that right now, and I've called it... I gave it a name because people are always asking me, what's that called? But there isn't really a name for that, since it's... I don't know if I'd really even call it animation. It's more... I don't know. It's more almost an animatic But it's not an animatic, because an animatic would show you what it would look like if it were going to be fully animated. And nothing's really happening on screen. It's just a couple of different poses. So yeah, there's not a name for that. And I haven't coined one that sounds good. So I'm just not going to say anything.
I kept trying to call it still frame, but no one picked, no, it didn't catch on, so I gave up with that.
No, that sounds legit. Still frame. I think I was calling it. It's not pose to pose. It's just still frames. But it's not an animatic and it's not a storyboard. So what is it? I don't know. Still frame. That's what it is.
Let it be known that it's now called still frame.
I'm gonna try to remember that now because people ask me that. I get asked that maybe once or twice a month.
And so I'd like to discuss with you, actually, speaking of that, your thoughts on its pros and cons. Its speed thing, it's much faster than normal animation. But it doesn't look even half as good. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
Okay, so the reason I use it for Scribble Kibble is because it's extremely fast. If I were fully animating each one of those episodes, it wouldn't have solved my problem at all. I'd be back to 40 hours of work per episode, well more, because these episodes are, I don't know, 6 to 7 minutes long sometimes. I have a couple that are 15 minutes long. There's just no way. I'd be spending all year making a 15-minute long episode about copyright that no one's going to watch just because it's animated. It's not what you want to use your animation time on. You don't want to use it on something like that. So there's no, the visuals are a nice thing to have there, and they're attractive to look at, and that's it. That's the point. But, so the pros are that, hey, wow, if you're using this type of animation, you could actually tell a complete story and be done and move on with your life. Well, the cons are, everybody in the comments section is going to complain about how it's not fully animated, and wow, wouldn't this make a big difference if it were fully lip-synced? Why don't you lip-sync it? You're a lazy, dumb person. Bad. And you just ignore those people because, obviously they have nothing better to do than complain on videos.
We used the same technique on Time with Wyman. Luckily, we haven't had any of those people.
Oh, just wait.
No, mostly we just had people complaining that DWK was better in the videos he wrote by himself rather than the ones he wrote with us, which was very mean.
Oh, yes. Yeah, people are mean. Actually, on YouTube, I've kind of reached the point where I stop reading the comments, except for I read the comments on my newest video for a week. And then that's it. There's just too many comments, and YouTube's manner of handling them and delivering them to me to read it's really bad. So there's really no way for me to just see all the comments in my videos and read through them. They make it impossible. So I've kind of given up at this point, which is fine because most comments, I'd say maybe 95% of them are just junk. But then there's the 5% that I wish I saw so that I could answer them, but YouTube doesn't want me to see them, so whatever. I just check the recent comments on recent videos, and that's how I do it now.
Yeah, it is always a shame when you see, oh, look, you've got new comments. And as much as it's nice to see, this was cool, or great job, and so on, it's always a joy when you get a comment that actually goes through what you did discussing it. I've only ever had that twice.
Yeah, or it'll be a longer comment too. But then there's the comments that are too long. Maybe you've had some of these where, yes, it's in depth, but it's, like a whole page single-spaced of just information, I guess.
I have had one of those longer, like page-long comments before, and I think the person put more thought into the philosophy behind the video than I or the other writer did.
Yeah, that happens too.
It's okay, because it means they think we're geniuses.
Yeah, I did something in a recent video where the person was like, wow, did you do that to illustrate your point? And I was just thinking to myself, no, I did it because it was a joke, like a visual gag, and I left it in there. I thought it was funny.
Alright, what's the name? There we go. So, pretty stock standard question, but still a good one, about where animators should get started. Now, because my university's tried to teach us right from scratch, we started on stop-mo, claymation, we just started 2D this term, 3D next term, and so on and so forth. Would you recommend someone jump right into 2D, or maybe something less technical but still challenging like stop motion?
Oh, that's interesting. I never really thought of starting anywhere else. I mean, I get a lot of people who want to do animation for fun. So that's the trick. If you want to do animation for fun, you should probably start immediately doing what you want to do. Otherwise, you're just going to get bored. So that's quite different from going to a university where they are going to teach you either how to make good art, which is if you're going to an art school, or how to understand the principles of motion, which it sounds like is what you're doing with starting with the stop motion, and then that really teaches you, oh, if this item on screen moves this far, then it looks like this, but if it only moves this far, then it looks like this. So, yeah, but a lot of people listening to the show are probably interested in doing it for fun, and maybe not so much doing it, well, I don't know, because it's a pretty in-depth show. But, yeah, so if it's for fun, I always say, just skip right to what you want to do, and start doing it, because the best way you're going to learn is through actually trying to do the thing, instead of, I guess, reading a bunch of material or messing around with something that you get bored with, and then you thinking, oh, I don't really want to do animation. This isn't what I wanted to do.
Okay, next up. So, another thing I'd very much appreciate your thoughts on, Ms. Prince. I've found one of the most useful things in practicing just pretty much, I suppose, writing, let's say, is finding projects online or within school, but outside of school works and outside of my own projects where I'm working on my own, is working with a group of people. Even if someone's working for fun, how important would you say it is to just work with as many people as possible? Would you say that's important?
Okay, so this is what I've discovered. A lot of people want to collaborate with someone who's famous because they think it's going to make them famous. It's not. Or they want to work on this big project that's going to make this really big movie because they think it's going to make them famous. It's not. So if your goal is to get a lot of followers and to get a lot of attention, collaborations are not a really good way to do that. But if your goal is to make money, collaborations usually lead to more customers. That's been my experience. So the collaborations don't pay out at all in me getting more followers or new subscribers or anything like that. And a lot of the people watch the video and don't even really know I was involved, even though I'm right there, you know? But what will happen is that people see that video and think, oh, that was really well done, or, oh, I'd like something like that. Who made this? How do I get in touch with them? Or the person that I worked with will have someone come to them and say, hey, did you know who made that video? I'd like a video like that, and I want to buy it from them. So that's been my experience. Now, as far as doing fun things, that's a really good way to collaborate. Like, I'm part of a group called Ponies the Anthology, and we just make stupid, funny videos about My Little Pony stuff. So that's a lot of fun for me. And, you know, I get to do the things where I take copyrighted material and do whatever I want with it, which I try not to do on my channel anymore because every time that happens, I can't monetize it. So it's just a waste of my time, basically.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I wouldn't say I would actually. Yes, I would say I've noticed that the mentality of believing that collaborations with someone famous will make you famous, because that was exactly the mentality that I had when I first started working with Weim.
Yeah, you thought Weim was going to make you famous.
Exactly.
Huh?
All I see is I get a call, I get a message from him. I go check out his channel. Oh, sweet, 100,000 subscribers. Awesome. You know, all those people are going to come to me. Nope, it's been 2 years, and I think maybe 3 or 4 of them have crossed over.
This is great because I know Weim is listening into the call. He has to sit there and not say anything.
Yeah, you can. So, as soon as I realized that, Weim could probably attest. If you were to put that on a chart, you would see that the moment I realized that this wasn't going to make me famous, my commission costs started going up.
Yeah. Both of you are fired. He writes, both of you are fired. Oh, I mean, if you work with Weim, you're going to get a lot of attention and a lot of money. Actually, no, Weim has been really good about
Weim
that.
has been fantastic. He's been a really, really great boss.
Oh, yeah. I would hope so. Yeah, I've had a great time doing any of this stuff for Weim. I'm always like, yay, this is gonna be fun. Because I did like an Undertale thing, and I know it didn't pan out. He didn't get as many views as he wanted, but man, that video should have gotten a lot of views. It was really well done. So, but oh well.
Speaking
I tried.
Speaking of the devil, that was actually the next thing I wanted to speak about. The masterpiece of your channel, the pinnacle of content to grace your wall, like your magnum opus, the best thing you've ever done, the WeimTime Asgore fight, and who was written by, a true hero, like a true hero of YouTubing, writer, folkman, tale hero thing, Peoples. Yeah, let's talk about that video.
Yeah, that was a while ago. I'd have to open up all my materials on screen and remember what I did, but I did a bunch of new stuff on that video. I actually did some 3D. I made the whole setting as in 2D, but I layered it in After Effects by hand to be 3D. It would have been much easier to just learn how to use a 3D program and do the setting properly, but I I don't really know. I don't get into 3D too much. So all of those, I made like pillars and stuff so that when the camera panned through the scene, it would have all the parallax and you're moving through the scene. So that was really great. I did a lot of fun stuff for that video that I hadn't tried before.
It was indeed a fantastic video. Okay, and my final question is, what have I written there? The first 5 obstacles of sucking. When you get started, the most likely things that are going to put off an aspiring animator or discourage them. Those I had that when I first tried to learn animation before I went to college, and you're downloading the software, you're feeling really great about yourself, then 5 minutes in, you're kind of just like, no. So, what would you say would put off an animator that they should not let discourage them, like in that first hour that they're sitting in front of their keyboard, they're sitting in front of it?
Okay, I guess there are the 5 elements of sucking. I've got two major ones, but the first one is just, as you said, it's learning the software. So the very first time I got a copy of Flash, it was Flash CS4, from my friend whose mother worked for Adobe at the time. And I was really excited. I installed it onto my junky laptop that I still have today. I mean, that laptop's maybe 12 years old or something. It barely works, but it works enough. So I installed installed Flash, and I remember sitting in my old room at my parents' house upstairs, trying to figure out how to use the software. And I'm not sure exactly what I did. I didn't know where to put the drawings. I didn't know how to use the drawing tools. And at the end of, I don't know, maybe 3 hours, I just remember laying on the floor and crying, and then not just giving up. I laid on the floor and I cried. I just remember that. And I always tell that story because it was so frustrating. And I think I just said, well, okay, forget that. I'm never gonna do this again. That was horrible. And then I think maybe a month later, I tried it again, and then I figured it out. And I ended up buying a book on how to do action script. I researched which one to get, and I did that. So that really was the big obstacle, is because the first time you open an animation software, it's nothing like a video editing software or After Effects. It's absolutely nothing like any of those. So you can't, because once you learn one video editing program, you can use all of them. Once you learn one animation program, you can use all of them, but it just, you have to learn the thing, and the logic is a little bit weird, especially with Flash. So, yeah, which, speaking of that, I'm actually sort of at the beginning / middle of putting together an entire animation class on using Flash. So that will prevent any of the lying on the floor crying moments for other people. So that's the very first thing, is learning an animation software for the very first time. If you don't feel like doing that, geez, you could just make animations by hand and scan in the pictures and put them together in Windows Movie Maker, which is what I had been doing. That's easy to do, because Windows Movie Maker is a video editing program, and I've been doing that forever, so that's easy.
Yeah, I remember trying that as a kid.
Yeah, that's...
It was awful.
The second... Oh, okay. The second thing that I had to say is, and this is less an obstacle for me, it's going to be more an obstacle for people who are really sensitive, but it's the negative comments that you'll get if you share your work publicly. It won't happen at first. It won't happen at first. But eventually, once you start to get a lot of traction and a lot of followers, you're going to get people who come to the video because it was in their feed and they don't like it, and they're going to tell you, I don't like this type of thing, screw you. So that will happen, and you can't be affected by that. And then you're going to get people who will say very serious, harsh, but kind of unnecessary critiques. They'll come in and they'll say, like, sound was awful, drawings were terrible, this whole music thing is just bad, you should give up animating, don't do it anymore. So you'll get, and they'll be well-written comments. I actually have some of them saved because I like to look at them and think about how terrible the people who wrote them were. Like, why would you do that? What's the point? There's no point in doing that other than trying to remove your competition. Like, if you can get other people to stop drawing, then there's less competition for you. So, yeah, I do the opposite of that. I love to see people like, yeah, I tried animating because I saw your show, and look at this drawing I made. So I really like inspiring people. It's like the complete opposite of the types of comments you'll get once you start to get a lot of views. Or if you get unlucky, you might get a negative comment. So you cannot let that get to you. You can't let it get to you. But the third thing is actually this has nothing to do with the people out there. It's all about you. So artists especially tend to have a lot of self-doubt. And I actually had someone write to me a couple days ago. I did an interview for someone I get a lot of university students say, hey, can I do an interview with you? I need to meet this requirement for school. And I say, sure, send me the questions. Anyway, this question is about self-doubt and how to handle it. Because a lot of artists are like, oh, my art sucks and I suck and everything sucks. Which is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, yes, okay, there are parts of your art that you don't like, but you can keep it to yourself. Because for the viewers who are really excited to look at your artwork, when they see you writing about how you hate it, it kind of hurts them. I don't know if you've ever seen a piece of art that's really great, and you go and you read the description, and the first description is like, I really hate this piece of art, it sucks, and I tried really hard, and it's just terrible, and it sucks. But it's such a great piece of art, and you're looking at it, you're like, I can't even draw like that, so I guess I suck too. It's just not a good, no. Keep it to yourself, or, talk to your close friends about the troubles you're having with your artwork. But yeah, you gotta get over that too. Otherwise, you're just gonna be paralyzed by fear of not being good enough.
All right, and just continuing off of that, what would you think, what should be the first thing someone attempts to animate? Once they've opened Flash, what is the first thing they should try and do? As opposed to a whole scene of two people, fighting each other and lasers and shit, what everyone wants to do when they go into Flash.
Yeah, so there are two things that I mean, the typical one is, hey, animate a bouncing ball. But I actually never did that exercise, and I don't think I've ever animated a bouncing ball in the entire, I don't know, 6 or 7 years I've been animating. But the thing I usually teach people first is just a blink. I did a tutorial on that recently, because a lot of the people I work with, they like to do close-up shots, especially beginning people, of eyes, and then the eyes are blinking. So, hey, like, I made a thing that's not a bouncing ball, and it looks cool, and blinks are really easy to do. So, that's an easy thing to try. But sometimes I just recommend just try to animate whatever it is that you want to do right away. But not the whole background and everything, just the character. So if you want to make a cat running through the grass, just make a cat running, and there you go. And like, you could just keep experimenting with it. And the more you animate, the more you're going to figure out how to animate so it looks good. But if you're not ready to just jump in and do it exactly what you want to do right away, either a blink or a bouncing ball are the places to start, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, I know I said last question was, I said, will be the last question 2 questions ago, but I do actually have the last question now, which it's been bugging me, and I do want to ask, why do you describe yourself as a rogue animator? Is there a story behind that? Or...
Okay, well, there's not really a story behind that, other than that I am not working for a studio, and I like to define myself as sort of as infamous instead of famous. So infamous people are more known for just sort of the bad or the naughty things that they do. And I kind of like that darker undertone of the rogue animator who can't be tied down and who does whatever she wants. So that's the story behind that.
Okay, I understand now. So you're what happens if the animators escape from the from the building, from the pen, and go frolic out in the woods?
Yes, yeah.
It's okay. We're gonna set her free. She's gonna go play and frolic with all the other animators.
Or just sit in a desk and draw all day. It's the same whether you're at a studio or working for yourself. You're just at a desk all day. I do try to go out for walks and stuff, though.
All right. And that was it. That was actually the last question. So thank you very much for putting up with me for the last, I don't know, how long has this been? 45 minutes? Yeah, around about there.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Oh, fun. Go for it.
Let's dig into your personal life. That's it? You don't have anything anything other than what was on your list?
That was my list.
Been bugging you?
That was my list of things. Nothing. That was my list of things. But if you're gonna go in and dig about my personal life and steal my monetary secrets, then fine, you can do that.
Your monetary secrets. How about your secrets to your writing? I could steal that. That'd be great.
You can steal the secrets to my writing. There aren't many. It's really just one word.
One word? That's a one-word secret.
Okay, no, sorry. It's a two-word secret. Two-word secret. Irish cream. Hemingway said, write drunk, edit sober.
Yeah, although I have some stories about that not working out too well. Not me personally, but... Or rather, not even being drunk, but eating too many Hot Pockets. Way too many Hot Pockets. And going into, like, a food-induced delirium and thinking that you can write music when you don't even know what a score looks like.
Oh,
and
wow.
then when you're sober, when you stop, when you're done throwing up because you ate so many Hot Pockets and having this feverish food coma, and you look at what you wrote on the piece of paper, you can't remember why you thought that this is so amazing, let alone how to play or read what you wrote as a piece of music.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I don't think I've ever eaten myself into a delirious state.
I haven't. I can't say I have. I usually eat sometimes I'll eat so much that I'm like, I can't move. I think I learned that in college, where there's you have to eat as much food to survive as you can right away.
Yeah.
And I've never really grown out of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I never really before I went to college, I did 2 years working as an editor, as an editing intern on a TV show, and I've never gotten out of that same mentality of, oh look, food, I need to eat it right now.
Yeah, that might have been, I picked that up on my internship too. I had an internship at the Attorney General's office, and then I had one at a nonprofit, and I was always the person, if there was food left over, you always brought it to me. And it doesn't look like I eat all that food, but yeah, I could put away, I think I have a hollow leg, or a bag of holding for a stomach or something.
It definitely looks like I ate all that food on me. Which is, it's such a shame because coming out of high school, I'd been a rower. I was in really good shape. And then, the film industry killed that.
Oh no, you need to be a stunt double or something so you get enough exercise. Yeah, animating is really bad for your health. I don't, it's just bad. I used to get so much more exercise, and now I'm sitting here and I'm like jiggling my leg, but I get really focused, and then I'm all hunched over, so when I stand up, I'm like, ah! I can only imagine what it's going to be like when I'm 40 and just I'm going to have a hump. I'm going to be the hunchback just from animating.
I have noticed that, you don't really move around a lot as an animator. My lecturer made a joke about that with, he was introducing us to that book, Acting for Animators, and the way he described it was that they brought in an actor to teach animators how actors move and so on, but he ran into the problem of how do you teach acting to people who don't like to get up and move around?
I love to get up and move around. It just, there's no possible way for me to get up and move around and draw at the same time. I mean, a notebook, but with animating, you have to be very precise. So it's never going to work. Like, I walk and read at the same time. I cannot walk and draw at the same time. It's just never going to happen.
You can get a little bit of exercise when you do stop motion if you've got a particularly large set and you've got to... Because then you're on your feet for 12, 16 hours just walking around a table nonstop, so there's exercise there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was just thinking everyone should get into stop motion to be healthier.
And, you know, so that they can make more cool stop motion things. There needs to be more stop motion. There's just not enough.
I assume you've seen Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh my god, I love Kubo and the Two Strings so much.
That movie was amazing, and especially when you... Like, it's one thing to watch the movie, and it's another thing to go look and see that, and then realize that those pieces are life-sized pieces. I mean... What?
I know, right?
It's not computer generated. It's just this massive 2-story, I think 3-story skeleton that they built. Oh my gosh. But you don't see it when you're watching the movie. It's only when you go and look into behind the scenes that you see how amazingly complicated all of the models they built for this thing are.
I had just got done shooting my my final stop motion film for the year for uni, and it was like a 2.5-minute film of lumps of clay moving around, and it took me 24 hours of hard backbreaking work to do. And then I go and watch Kubo, and it's like, how could I ever do this? How could anyone do this?
Hundreds of hours. Yeah, I mean, 24 hours is like, wow, you know, I wish I could make an animated movie in 24 hours.
Right.
But I said a lot of them take 40 to 100, and that's just for a 2-minute. A little 2-minute piece.
Stop motion, I do think stop motion can be a lot faster than 2D.
Yeah, once you've got everything built. So when you're building your own props, it's the same thing though with 2D puppet animations. Once you've built the puppets, it's extremely efficient. Like Scribble Kibble only takes me 30 minutes to animate because I've already done everything. It's really the writing, the research, and the editing that take all of the time, especially the writing and research part. Yeah,
we had the same with time with Weim, where we had the scripts done back in December, but trying to get the artwork done for all the little posers was a nightmare and a half. But now that we've got all of them done, it's like, hey, we'll knock them out once a month, you know, no problem.
Yeah, that's one of the things about puppet animation and still frame animation is that once you've built everything, then you're good to go. And once in a while, you can draw a new pose or add a new background, and it's really easy to kind of change it up just a little bit so people don't get too bored.
Exactly. It's kind of like the more you make, the more you make, the easier it gets to make. You know, go and add in new. You can now use your monthly budget to go and add in, like, you know, if you've got your character move, you can add in an in-between pose so that the movement looks more like real animation, shit like that.
Yeah, although you have to watch because there's a fine line, because once you start to get too much, then it becomes a long animation project again. Like, if you've got that many poses to work with. So I'm kind of at the maximum number of Scribble Kibble poses that I can work with before it starts becoming... Like, I could add a bunch of in-between poses, but then I'd have to, every time I switch poses, I'd have click, 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 and that's a bunch more clicks, and that adds up, and it'd probably take me an hour and a half to animate, and it just gets longer and longer.
And the editors would have hated if I added more, if we had more poses added, because they don't edit that in Premiere. They use After Effects, which... You know,
After Effects, a horrible editing program. Premiere is what you want to use for that kind of thing.
That's exactly what I said to Weim. That is exactly what I said to him. But the only problem is that the way we sort of animated it in time with Weim, because we use the puppet pin tool, so that we can get...
yeah, that's the problem, is if you need that tool. And also camera. Premiere is really bad with cameras.
Yeah, with Premiere, you kind of got to... You've got to move all of your assets at the same time and at the same speed.
No, that's garbage. Don't do that.
Yeah, so after there were more pros to After Effects than there were cons, and I challenged Weim on this. I said, okay, cool, give me a scene. You know, give me a scene. I'll put it into Premiere and I'll get it done in just the quality that you want, and I'll do it in a day. You know, 2 weeks later. Weim has most of the animation done. It looks gorgeous, and there's me with my dinky little scene done in Premiere.
Yeah. Well, the other thing though is that this is the other reason I'm going to try Toon Boom for a while. I'm going to learn Toon Boom so I can teach people Toon Boom as well as Animate and After Effects, which nobody seems to be interested in learning, but I can teach that too. So the thing about all of the Adobe programs is they are completely integrated with each other. So for Scribble Kibble, I actually use After Effects, Premiere, and Flash or Animate. And so I export the file from Animate and I can bring it into After Effects and scale it and resize it infinity times and it'll look just as good because After Effects is a vector program. And then I can cut everything in Premiere. But the thing is that I make the project in Premiere and it's linked into After Effects. So any changes I make in Premiere will also show up in After Effects. And then for some weird reason, I can then take the thing that I've made in After Effects and re-import it into Premiere. But it's all still linked. So that's how I kind of do Scribble Kibble, is I have all of the baseline editing done in Premiere. I put it in After Effects and I do all of the camera movement and any special effects. And then I put that back into Premiere and they're all linked together. So if I change the Flash file, if I change the first Premiere file, if I change the After Effects file, it all populates itself, which is absolutely amazing.
We should actually look into doing that because I think Weim and I might have actually forgotten that you can do that, which is annoying because Adobe just added it just added the group project, so we would have been able to do that with both of us working on the project around the world and still having the files sync.
Yeah.
But that is much better.
Yeah, I'm thinking in your case, you probably would have the After Effects file and just bring that into Premiere, and then you can do your editing and add your sounds in, because that's the other thing, is After Effects is really terrible for sound and audio editing.
Yeah, because it's not actually done live. It's always like it's always off a little bit because of the buffer times.
And then when you try to put your sound effects into After Effects, like if you get too many sound effects on one line, the program crashes. So I do I have a test sound file that I use in After Effects, but Premiere has the real thing, and then I do all of the music editing and any sound effects and all of the audio editing in Premiere.
Oh god, yeah, trying to put music through After Effects is such a nightmare. I was working on this project for South African Premier Soccer League Awards, and the opening was meant to have this really big, flashy thing with text and a whole bunch of 3D assets and camera movements going through. And naturally, because it's soccer, there is a whole buttload of sound effects going through. And so that was like a day-long thing of trying to get this 30-second intro to look right. And the project director almost pulling out her hair. That was the scariest day of my internship, and the first day of my internship involved the store next to us getting robbed at gunpoint.
Yeah. Was this still in South Africa?
Still in South Africa, yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too surprising. Although South Africa, as far as I know, is pretty developed. Is one of the more developed countries in Africa.
Yeah, we're still classed as a developing country, and we've definitely gone down, because I think we were just put into junk status economy, which, ouch. Yeah, so we've slid down that rabbit hole, but we are still one of the more developed African countries.
Yeah, I was gonna, because usually if you want to visit Africa, South Africa is one of the places that's, I guess, safer to go to.
It's not even offensive to say that; it's completely accurate.
No, it's just there's a lot of civil and political unrest in Africa. I mean, come on. There's a book I read. What was it? I think it was Uncle Tom's Cabin or something like that. But there's a quote from it, and I have it saved somewhere. But it just says something along the lines of, Africa is going to be the last struggling country in the world, but when it rises out of that, is going to be the most amazing country or continent on the entire planet.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's got to rise up out of that. Out of the arrest. My gosh.
Yeah, trying to get out of that's going to be a nightmare and a half. But, I mean, the whole continent's basically just been in a state of war with itself for
That's the problem,
century.
Is all of that, if you don't have peace, it's really hard to accomplish anything. Like, everything you try to build gets destroyed. We're not even talking about animation anymore. Right. But I'm having a good time. I like doing this kind of thing.
I'm having a good time.
there's my international law degree coming through. So
You have an international law degree?
yeah, that's what I got. I went to school because I wanted to be a diplomat, and as I was getting that degree, I learned that you basically can't go into politics unless you have a lot of money. And so I went to Nicaragua, and I did this study there, and I got really sick, and I had to come back, and it gave me PTSD, and I kind of realized that this isn't really what I want to do. I don't want to play the game of politics. No, I'm not gonna do that. So yeah, I ended up working for a local nonprofit doing a TV show, and then I quit my job because I had too many animation jobs, and I couldn't do both.
Yeah, there the rogue animator comes in. Well,
Yep.
You could have been the rogue politician.
Yeah, when you're young and ambitious, you think that you can, overcome all of the problems the political system has. But as you get older and even more cynical, because I've always been cynical, you begin to realize you would have been crushed down and everything would have been a struggle. Not that I mind. I'm always struggling anyway. It's fine, but it's just not as easy. You think that you could go in there and just, shake it all up and make all the big changes. Nah, it's an old boys club. Old boys club. Yeah, you can't just go in there and do that. It won't work.
Nah, that's not gonna happen. It's like going and walking into Disney, as a young intern. You're all going to do exactly what I say we should do now.
Yeah, you gotta win your way in. It's like walking into showing up in a group of famous animators in some chat room and like, hey, look at me, I'm so cool. They don't care. They don't care.
Have you seen, just since we're jumping around the topics, but have you seen the trailer for Wolfwalkers, Tom Moore's new film?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Cartoon Saloon is
I love
pretty
Cartoon
much my
Saloon.
favorite animation studio. Yeah.
Absolutely my favorite.
And wolves. I love wolves. I'm like, yeah, I'm so excited. Ah!
It looks so fantastic. I love everything they do.
Yeah, everything they do is just, it's kind of like the last, I mean, not really, but as far as, I guess, Western 2D animation, it's like the last surviving pinnacle. Everybody else has gone on to 3D, blah, blah, blah. And the only other place to get good 2D animation made by large studios, anyway, is now in China and Japan.
Yeah,
Kind
exactly.
of the last strongholds.
It's nice to see them still very vehemently sticking on 2D. I've been praying for a trailer for their other film Breadwinner to come out, but I have seen nothing. Like what I have seen just looks beautiful.
I haven't seen the Breadwinner trailer.
Well, it hasn't come out yet.
Okay.
They've just been showing screenshots, a few small animation cycles, but either way, they're doing some of the better work of Western animation this year. I mean, what are we getting this year? We're getting Captain Underpants, Cars 3.
Isn't that 3D? That's 3D. There's if anybody listening does the Red Letter Media is subscribed to Red Letter Media, they have a video called "Fuck You, It's Forever," and it just talks about all the movies coming out in 2017 and how they're remakes or soft reboots of things that already existed. There's absolutely nothing original. It's really amazing. I love that video so much. I've seen it many times, and I make everyone I know watch it.
I need to see that. I haven't seen that, actually. I'm not subscribed to Red Letter Media.
I'm gonna send you the video. Just sit down and watch it, because it's endless trash.
Okay,
So yeah, this has been really great. I don't know that I guess I had said some stuff in the last part that may be useful too.
Yeah, at the very least, it might get some people to go see. I don't know. Maybe they'll go watch the trailer for Wolfwalkers.
Wolfwalkers, yeah. Jeez, that's like if you like animation and you haven't seen anything by Cartoon Saloon, they have Song of the Sea. They have Secret of the Kells,
Secret of Kells, which
may be my most favorite animation of all time.
It is my actual favorite animation of all time.
Yeah, I if people ask me, that's usually the one I say. It's hard to think on the spot. What's your favorite thing? Thank goodness you did not ask me that. It's such a typical question, and my answer is always different because I'm on the spot. I'm like, I don't know. I like all of the animations. What are you talking about? But
such a hard question.
Secret of the Kells. Secret of the Kells is really even more. I may like that even more than some of the Hayao Miyazaki movies or the other ones that would be there.
I can definitely agree with you. I kind of realized it was my favorite when I had to write an assignment on character development through their poses, and I wrote like 6 pages on the Abbot of Kells.
Yeah. I just everything. I could talk at length about that movie. I need to do a Scribble Kibble about it, but it's hard to do movies because there's a lot to talk about, and those episodes take a little bit longer to make. But just the stuff, the techniques it's all hand drawn, which is just blows your mind away.
And the way they design so many of the shots and frames that they throw realism right out the window and just go for beautiful designs.
Yeah, and it's all they know everything about the type of artwork. It's all like Celtic and Irish.
Yeah,
so
it's like a medieval tapestry.
That you do not see. You're not going to see that in a Disney movie or in a Hayao Miyazaki movie. That's completely different than that. There's so much texture to all of the drawings by Cartoon Saloon. Even when they switched over to digital and started using TV Paint, it's still got that same feel. So the Wolfwalkers. I want it to come out now.
It looks so absolutely fantastic. I love their character designs. They're all very simple but so adorable.
Yeah, well, I'm a fan of simplicity, so I'm not very good at doing highly complicated character designs. It's something I need to work on, but it also has to do with the fact that usually I end up animating whatever I design, so I keep them pretty simple. I think you mentioned Mirage way back at the beginning of this talk.
Back when we was
that character design is not one that I did. It's toned down quite a bit from the original design, but it's still, anytime you've got that many elements, like you have the horns, you've got the wings, you've got her body is sectioned into 3 different pieces. She's got little defining spots on her legs. I think I might have removed those because there's a lot, and each hand has fingers, and there's a lot that isn't toned down. That was one of the more complicated designs I've done. I've also animated Discord before, which is a My Little Pony character, and he's every opposite side of the body is something different. So he's got an antler on one side, a horn on one side, eagle claw on one side, a lion paw on the other side, and you have to keep track of all this. You're like, okay, which way is he facing? Is that the lion paw on the left, or is it supposed to be eagle claw on the left? I can't remember. I gotta look up the reference picture.
Right? It's actually kind of amazing there haven't been animation errors like that in the show with Discord.
I mean, there may be. Because if you just flip him, say you take your character Peppa and you just flip it horizontally, or vertically, then the wrong arm is going to be on the wrong side. You actually have to replace that symbol.
Yeah.
You can't so I wouldn't be surprised, because if you look at, on that show, the character Rainbow Dash, her hair is not consistent. Sometimes the red stripe's on the top, and sometimes I think the yellow stripe is on the top and the red stripe's on the bottom. On the top part of her hair, it always flips around.
Oh, shit.
I don't really know why that happens.
I've never noticed that. And it's funny trying to poke out some. Oh, sorry. I just realized I hadn't been pressing push to talk for like the last few seconds.
Oh, that's why.
Okay, so I'd gone silent there for a moment. It's interesting. It's always fun to go and look through the animation errors, but my animation lecturer ruined animated TV shows for me yesterday, so...
What? Why?
Because he showed us the fact that about 70% of dialogue is between in an animated conversation is completely still. Like, you'll see like a hand will move once or twice, but other than that, it's blinking. Their shoulders might shift a little bit. It's like I'd never noticed that before.
Really? How could you not have noticed that? Do you ever watch anime? Have you ever watched any anime?
I don't watch a lot of anime.
That's why.
I've watched
Okay,
I've watched the Studio Ghibli stuff. I watched Full Metal Alchemist.
That's not anime. I mean anime TV shows like Inuyasha, Rurouni Kenshin's not Samurai Jack, but Cowboy Bebop.
I've watched Cowboy Bebop.
Okay, so you cannot watch an anime without realizing how they plan it so that they spend their budget on any of the action sequences, which means when they're talking, literally nothing else moves. There's not even a blink. It's just the mouth moving. So yes, I definitely, as an animator, see into TV shows when that they're talking, there's really nothing happening at all. And a lot of the animated TV show is nothing but dialogue.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
There's not really a lot happening on screen. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to produce an episode every week. It just wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Well, I didn't notice it too much with Cowboy Bebop because the way they had the characters staged.
Well, that's all hand drawn though, too. So
the way they were all staged and posed was all still in a very dramatic way. Like if you were shooting it live action, you would have done it that way. So it felt so natural. I didn't notice it with that.
But when you're watching, say, a cartoon made in Flash, like My Little Pony, they don't have any angles other than just straight on. Like, you're not going to see an angle down on the ground looking up at the character.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very rare. It's in the show a couple times, but it's very rare just because they're puppets. So when they're talking, it's literally the same perspective you've seen for, I don't know, 200 episodes, doing the same thing in maybe a blink.
I binged Rick and Morty recently, and I noticed it there.
I love Rick and Morty.
I hated it at first, but I
didn't like the first episode. I was like, no, this is too vulgar. Nah. But then my husband wanted to watch it. Yeah, he wanted to watch the second episode, so I was like, okay. And then it's like my favorite animated cartoon ever.
I'd say I still reckon Archer's a little bit stronger, but just for
I haven't seen too much of Archer. I think I've seen one episode.
Oh wow! You should watch some more Archer because where it really wins there is its pacing on the dialogue is incredible. It is so strong. The comedic timing is some of the best that I've seen in cartoon TV shows. But Rick and Morty cheat all the time. I have now noticed that.
Oh yes. Well, actually, I think it's season 2 or season 3. I can't remember. 3. Okay, so the new season of Rick and Morty, completely different animation. Like they did a lot to the puppets. There's way more.
Yeah, hence the larger break.
Yeah, way more going on. Because okay. Anyway, we'll get into that. But my phone's ringing in the background. What was I gonna say? Oh, so the thing that Rick and Morty really wins on is its bitter cynicism. Oh. Yeah,
that's a show where the writing really takes over everything.
Yeah, so it's not really so much the timing as it is just disassembling everything about society. In the most terrible way. It's lovely. I love it.
Kind of the moment you really lose all hope is when you've got Rick and Morty going through the Citadel of Ricks, and in the background, I didn't notice it the first time, but I saw it again on a rewatch. Was that there's a Morty who's grown up and dressed like Rick.
Oh my gosh, I didn't notice that. They're always doing stuff. That show is incredible in the fact that the main character puppets don't change too much over the first 2 seasons, but every single environment is new art.
Yeah.
It's not reused, that's where all of the time and effort goes into, is making every single episode is different. They don't really get to reuse sets very often.
Exactly. The backgrounds are just oh God, I was writing for the second episode of Time with Weim, and I really, really wanted to take it to all these cool new locations, and I was sort of sitting there like, nope, I'm allowed one new location, and it has to be incredibly simple.
Yep.
One new background. So I can see that's where they put their budget. It is like
That's where the budget goes, yeah. Because, well, the other thing about the Rick and Morty art style is it's kind of ugly. I mean, it's ugly, but it works for that type of show.
But for the tone of the show, it really does work. But
it really works, yeah. But I wouldn't watch My Little Pony if it were drawn like that, because it'd be so ugly. And the characters are supposed to be cute, which is why it's fun to watch, because they're just, fun colors.
That was another show where I think it was between season 4 and season 5, or 5, or between 5 and 6, where it went on.
I don't know anymore, man.
It went on like this absurdly long break, and it was only after I sort of got into animation that I realized that that it was also the puppets in the backgrounds.
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of development work, so the hair moves now and stuff like that.
I sort of only started noticing it after people started posting it up, like it was appearing on EQD, like, oh look, the backgrounds, they're so much more, they're more complex now and shit like that. Oh, okay, that's why there was such a long break.
Yeah, it's a development break. I think I took one of those for Scribble Kibble. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, because once I start putting out episodes, I don't like to stop. I think I skipped this week because I was on a trip.
Yeah, stop. If you've got a show that relies on it coming out every single week or every 2 weeks, or like just on a regular basis, missing one of those is just a nightmare.
It's bad. I mean, especially if you were in TV, it can't happen. So it just can't happen. And what happens is that if they're getting close to a deadline and they don't have an episode done, for some reason, maybe it gets held up in production, because episodes are finished way before they come out. Anyway, they just like, okay, hire more people. We got to get this done. Hire more people to get that episode done. Yeah. So you just cannot miss a deadline. But, you know, my show, sure, I can miss a deadline, but every time I do that, it detracts from the reliability that this is a show you can see every week, and which is bad. You don't want that. It's bad PR. Exactly.
Because, oh my God, speaking of just shows on deadlines, I cocked up really badly on one once. Yeah, this was my second year. I'd been promoted from an intern to a junior editor, and so in South Africa, we were working on a reality TV show, and in South Africa, you don't when you go to give your thing to the South African broadcaster, you don't give this to them on like a flash disk or anything, because they still work on beta tape.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
God knows why, but they do. And so we've got every time we make something, we've got to knock it down onto beta, and it's got to be in 4:3 aspect ratio. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So we're on the very last episode of this reality show, and it's being sponsored by one of South Africa's biggest banks. And we are exhausted. We have maybe a few hours to go. And so they say, okay, cool, James, go do this. Just go lay it down onto tape. I lay it down onto tape, but you've got to listen to it once through with headphones in, just to make sure that everything sounds right. And I got a little bit lazy and decided to listen to it through the beta machine as it was recording, as opposed to listening to it once through on the TV screen, then laying it down. So, and also because we were in a rush. What I didn't know is that if you are trying to lay something through on a beta machine and you plug the headphones in, the audio does not record. It doesn't lay down. So we did that tape, then we did a backup tape. The backup tape I did not do with the headphones in, so the audio was fine on the backup tape. But we send it through to the broadcaster. The broadcaster sticks in the tape when it's time to play, and 5 minutes of the show airs without any sound. No sound on it. I'm sitting at home and I get a phone call from my director saying, why is there no audio in the episode? Netbank has a show.
And then you worry, maybe it's going to be the whole episode. When is it going to stop? When's the audio going to come in? Please come in.
And the reason that I should have been fired for that, but in the end I didn't, because it wasn't 100% my fault, because the broadcaster lost the backup tape that they were supposed to use, and they gave their QA team the weekend off, the entire team.
Oh no, bad luck.
Yeah, so the team that was meant to catch that they just weren't
Wasn't there. Of all the times.
So the director the director now regularly makes jokes, because the broadcaster charged the bank that was sponsoring the show, I think it was about 100,000 rand penalty fee, and so that they could re-air it the next week. And the show didn't get cancelled or anything, which was a fear, but the But the director now regularly makes comments, regularly shit talks me. Hey, you know you owe me 100,000 rand, right? You owe me this amount of money. She didn't have to pay it, but she still thinks I should give it to her. So
who's going to be editing? Who's going to be editing this recording?
Weim.
Oh, he's going to have a good time with this. It'll be nice and long for him.
Well, it's a good thing he's editing it and not me. Otherwise, it might go to air without any sound.
Oh, right, of course. Or possibly one of the texts. Yeah. All right. Have fun with that. It's like an hour-long recording now. Hour 19 I've got. I think I started recording before you, though.
No, it's an hour 19 for me as well. But
I mean, you probably with this just keep all of it. It's not like I said anything that needs to be cut out. Although there are cats running around and meowing at some point.
And then there is that part where my audio cut out. I really think that's all that needs to be cut out. What?
I'm sure all $5 of ad revenue you'll get out of it.
Yeah. So because the people listening to this can't see what Weim just typed in, Weim just typed in, yeah, good thing this whole thing pays super well.
Super well.
It's like, yeah.
That's the thing, though, about stuff like this. The ad revenue never pays for it. So I've made 300 videos, and I've only ever made one video that paid more in ad revenue than it cost me to make. So the only reason I can keep producing stuff at all is because of Patreon. That's it. That's where the money is to pay for things, for me to do things so I can eat.
Exactly.
But as I wrote in an interview, I was thinking about it. Like, there was an interview, they were asking, is it worthwhile to work for yourself versus working for a company or working for a studio? What are the pros and cons? And I said, it really depends on what kind of person you are. Like, if you're okay with making a lot of money but not having any freedom, go work for a studio. If you want freedom but you want to be destitute, work for yourself. But I'm thinking, like, I would at this point, now that I've worked for a studio, or not a studio, but I've worked for other people, so I know what it's like, and I've worked for myself, so I know what it's like. At this point in time, with my current attitude, I would rather eat beans and rice and live in squalor than go back to work for somebody else. So I'm fine with the amount of money I make right now, because I can do whatever I want whenever I want, although a lot of the time I'm working. But I'm not making money for the man anymore.
Well, you should come live in South Africa, because the money you're making...
Oh, yeah.
The money you'll make, because the exchange rate is 16 rands to the dollar.
Oh my gosh, that's worse than Brazil, which is where my brother lives. Which is 3 to 1, I think. Canada right now, it's 1.3 to 1. So I make most of my money in US dollars, which means I have a little bit more over here, even though the prices are higher. So it kind of, cancel out. But
I want to work this out real quick. You make $569 off your Patreon.
It depends. Sometimes it says one thing and I get another, but usually about $500 a month, which is, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do without that money. Because some months you don't have any work.
Yeah.
So you'll have periods where you don't have any work, and some months you'll make extra, so you just have to be careful.
Well, some months you might make the mistake I made, where you ask your boss to give you 2 months' salary in advance, and he does, and then you've...
Ooh, you gotta be careful when you do that.
Yeah, originally I was supposed to fly out to BabsCon, so I asked Weim to pay me my first 3 Time with Weim scripts in advance so I could do my visa. That didn't go through, and now I've got these extra 2 months of Weim not paying me.
Yeah, isn't that fun? Well, you got the money, you just got it in advance.
Yeah, but the problem is the money all went really quickly.
Yeah, you gotta watch for that. I'm pretty good. Like, I don't do a lot of leisure stuff, so I can live on not very much. And the other thing is I have a husband, so if everything went completely to shit, I'd still be okay, to some extent. He just changed his job, too, so now we're just, like, broke. But it's okay.
It's okay.
We'd rather, and as my grandmother always says, you would much rather have a job that you like than get a bunch of money at a job you hate. And she would tell me about how she would cry in the parking lot every day before going to her job that she hated. So I don't have to do that. No crying in the parking lot for me.
Yeah, just crying on the floor.
Nope, just crying on the floor. Yeah. All right, so this has been a lot of fun. I guess we'll end it here, and the editor's gonna have fun.
Yeah, have fun with those editors. Have a lot of fun.
All right. See you later.
All right. See you later, everyone. And see you later, Crowne Prince. Thank you very much for being here for the whole hour and a half.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It's just a good time for me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.